Hello everybody and welcome back to the iCode channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how to get Recalbox working with Atari Paddles. Got a lot of people asking about this question, and Recalbox has the Stella core, and it's a little bit tricky to get it to work, but let's take a look. I've got Recalbox loaded here, and I've got my iCode Duo adapter. I've got my paddles connected already to port 1. And I'm going to go ahead and start because I've mapped my red button, which is my fire button. I'm going to go in. My breakout is already marked for my favorites. And I'm going to go in. So this is already configured. As you can see, I'm in the game. As I move the paddle left and right, it's moving perfectly fine. In fact, I'm going to go to 2 players. I've mapped this to be the game selector. So I'm going to go to 2-player mode. And I'm going to go ahead and push start, and as you can see, the paddle's working great. I push the button, and even the buttons are mapped correctly, and it plays wonderfully with the paddles. So how did I do this? Let's look at player 2. So here's player 2. It also works well. I press the button, it starts, everything you would expect. And I've also tried 4 paddles, 2 on this port and 2 on the other port, and 4-player also works well. So let me exit to the menu. I'm going to push both start and select at the same time and come back to Recalbox menu. So how do we do this? So first of all, note that I'm using an XU4. I've gotten this to work with the Odroid N2, Raspberry Pi, and a set of other devices as well as on my Windows PC. And one thing about getting paddles to work is you need to, instead of using the standard Stella core, which is included with most of the Retroarch installations, like Recalbox comes with Retroarch, and it's configured to use Stella emulator for its Atari 2600 emulation. So to get paddles to work, unfortunately, the standard Stella core does not support it. So what you need to do is you need to switch Recalbox to use Stella 2014 core. And Stella 2014 core has some special modes for paddle mode. So when I start the game, I'm going to go ahead and start it again. You'll notice that I'm in the game, and I'm going to push my select button. I've mapped to white, and I'm going to push the button A at the same time. That'll take me to the quick menu for Retroarch. And then if I notice at the bottom, it says Stella on the bottom left corner. It says Stella 2014. I've already switched this to Stella 2014, and I don't think that comes automatically. So the way I did that is I had to first of all put the system on the network, and I've got a Wi-Fi adapter here, and it's connected to my local area network. And then I ran a tool. Let me show you. Called WinSCP. WinSCP basically lets me connect to my Recalbox. My IP address is .45. Yours might be different. I'm going to go ahead and log in, and I'm connected to my Recalbox XU4 box. And notice I've gone to the folder called USR lib Liberto. So if you go down here, these are all the cores that are included with Retropie. With Recalbox. So, and Libretto is the default cores, and you can see Stella is the default core. The first thing I did is 2 of these did not exist, only one of them existed. So I went ahead and renamed this simply by right-clicking and renaming the file. if you get an error here, like if I try to rename it, for example, to this, you may get a read only error. If it does give you that, then instead of this folder, go ahead and go back to the root. And in the README file that you can download this thing on, there's a folder called overlay upper user. So that has rights instead. Go to overlay, upper USR, and then Liberto. And here you'll be able to rename your, this used to be just one file here with just this. So I went ahead and renamed it to old. I'm just going to rename it to old 2. So you see now it didn't give me any errors. This file was not here. So I downloaded this file, which is the Stella 2014 Liberto for XU4. I downloaded this from the iCode website. I'll put the link in the YouTube video. Once you've got this downloaded, unzip it. I unzipped it here. And basically, I copied this over like this to my Recalbox. And then I renamed this and I removed 2014 from it. And that's how it became this file here. So that I replaced the Stella file with the Stella 2014 file, and I renamed it to the same. Once you do that, and then you reboot your system, then you'll be good to go, and you'll be able to go into the Retroarch using the hotkey. Let me show you that again. So if I go back here, I'm going to go ahead and resume. I was here, and I pressed the hotkey and my X button. I'm here. Then you should be able to see Stella 2014. So once you're here, the next thing you want to do is you got to go down to Controls, and under Controls, go down to Port 1 Controls and change the device type. By default, it's set to Gamepad. So I had to change it to Paddles, and this is only available in the Stella 2014. So change it to Paddles. And then for me, I had to swap these two. It was button A and button B were swapped. So I simply swapped them. So this used to say P1 fire. So I changed it from P1 fire to P2 fire. And then I changed this one back. That was pretty much the only change I needed to make. Then I made sure that my paddles are connected to my left analog. I have more videos that show you how to do this, but these are the defaults. When you set up the iCode Duo box, you can connect your paddles, and when you're configuring, and then you set it up for your joystick 1, whereas your regular Atari joystick will be your directional pads, like the game pads up, down, left, right, and then joystick 1 on Recalbox is connected to this analog section. So that's all I needed to do. And then the other thing I did is I did a little bit of fine tuning. You go to port number 2. This is if you want to play 4-player. Change this as well. So you can the same way. And then finally, on the quick menu, you go down to options. Down to options. And you'll see a couple of special settings for paddles. I changed the sensitivity to 13 for me because it was a little bit too sensitive. And the less sensitivity you have, the less jitter you will get. And then I centered it a little bit. So for me, it was 13 worked best in both settings. And then once you did that, make sure when you're in the controls, save your game remap file. So next time when you start it, you don't lose all your settings. So notice when I saved it, it created a file called breakout.remap. If you want to put all your paddle games in a folder, well, if you're using some other platform, you could do that and then save the content directory. But unfortunately with Recalbox, you're going to have to do it for each of the paddle games and save the file. That's all you need to do. So let's go back, go resume the game. And as you can see, we're good to go. I'm going to push start. And my player 1 is set. And we can have fun. And then player 2 is a 3-player game. And that's also set and operational. All right, so I hope this was helpful. If you enjoyed this and you have more questions, please visit us at iCode.com and go to the community site and you can post your questions there. Please give me a thumbs up, and you can also add questions to the video and I'll point them to the right place. I hope this helped. Take care.